So what is retailing? Well, in chapter one, we're going to see a little bit about what retailing means and what it is in the context of business. So let's go ahead and start with that very question, get that first concept out of the way. What's retailing? It's selling goods or commodities in small quantities directly to consumers. And that includes all the sales to the ultimate or final consumer. So it's not sold to a middleman or something like that. It's sold to the end user. Let's talk about this thing, which we're going to see quite a bit in the next 8 weeks, which is the integrated retail management flow chart. This is the framework that the textbook, and this isn't the only place you'll see this, this is used elsewhere as well, but it's a framework that the textbook uses to help students to be able to understand how all the pieces fit together. It shows us the big picture. So let's walk through it really quickly. I'm going to show you the thing here on the next page. And we start up here with chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5, chapter 7, 6, 8, etc. as we work our way down through this thing. And this would be the various chapters that we're going to be covering. So it's in your textbook. I want you to be comfortable with it. It's not something you're going to be tested on, but I want you to understand how all these different pieces fit together. That's important to see how the pieces fit together. And you'll see this at the beginning of pretty well every chapter. So we got that. And they sometimes refer to this the IRM. So just so you know, it's the integrated retail management flow chart we're talking about. Let's talk a little bit about the different types of transactions we can have. We can have a retail transaction, which is what this class is going to basically deal with. So if I go to the bank and I'm the person that's going to deposit the bank, that's a retail transaction. I'm the end user of the bank services, and the bank acts as a retailer. It's also a business to business would be another way of having a sales transaction. That would be one business to another. Middlemen would be sort of like this, where I would be selling to one company and then they would turn around and sell to another company, and they might finally sell to the end user, business to business. Government would be another type of sales transaction. I go into the DMV and I use my check to pay for a license or a title or something like that. Those would be a sales transaction, but it wouldn't be a retail sales transaction. And there's different combinations we can find. Different channels that we can use to distribute things. You think about it on the radio, sometimes you'll hear about, it's always every town I've lived in, they had the original mattress factory or the first mattress factory. They were always trying to sell their mattresses direct. Have you ever priced those mattresses? They're terrible. It's very expensive, but they always say they save you money by dealing direct. I don't know. I don't believe it. But in any event, most of the time mattresses are sold through a retailer by way of a wholesaler, etc. You can find this broken down in various different ways. So you perhaps have car insurance. You would go to an insurance agent. That would be the person here. You wouldn't go directly to the company usually. But quite often you would, maybe online. So again, there's different ways that products can be distributed and that services can be distributed. Retail management has several main goals. These would include everything being integrated, everything being coordinated, no overlaps, no redundancies. And from the outside, from the consumer's point of view, the company is going to appear seamless and it's all going to work together. And that's what we want if we're running a retail organization. One of the things as we start with retailing is the importance of having a mission statement. And this is what communicates to everybody, both the public and our own stakeholders, what's the purpose of the business. And the way to think about this is the mission statement answers the question, what do we do? So what is it that we're doing? What are we in business to do? That's the mission statement. Related to the mission statement is the vision statement. And in this case, the vision statement is their way of communicating what's going to happen in the future. Meaning, it would answer the question, where are we going as an organization? What is it we hope to do? Where do I want to take this organization in the next 5, 10, 15 years, maybe an owner would say. That would be a vision statement. Objectives would fall now underneath the mission and the vision statements. And this would be statements of what the company is going to accomplish. You want these to be clear. You want them to be measurable. So quite often you want to attach numbers to them. You want them to be realistic, not just made up. And they're used to evaluate the effectiveness of plans. And in fact, quite often people's bonuses are depending on their hitting their objectives. Situational analysis is also mentioned quite often in this textbook. And in this case, let's define this. Situational analysis is looking around and saying, this is the situation that we find ourselves in right now. So the question there is, where's the company now? Another aspect of this would be, though, where are we going to head next? So how did the company get here? Tell us a little bit of history, We know what the situation is now, and given where we're at now, we can start thinking about where we need to go, that whole idea with the vision statement. Strategy. So in this case, strategy is overall, it's grand, and it has to do with planning that's going to give us direction as an organization. And it helps us to be able to achieve our objectives and our goals. Because if you don't have some kind of strategy, you're just going to be flailing around and not really be able to force the environment to fit to what your needs are, to what your goals are. Okay, you want to get out ahead of that. You want to be proactive rather than being reactive, and strategy is a way of doing it. Another aspect that we're going to be talking about quite a bit later on in the textbook is retail information systems, and these are the methods and tools that help the retailer collect and store data and information about the clients, about themselves, for tax purposes, for financial purposes, whatever. Target market is terminology that's used quite often, and again, let's get a definition of that. This means I am selecting consciously as a retailer what market I'm going to aim my marketing efforts at. So again, the question would be, who is my current and who are my potential customers? That's the question that the target market asks, that whole theory behind target market. Market and location selection, we'll talk a little bit about this later on. In fact, we have most of a chapter on this later. And this has to do with where am I going to locate? It also has to do with channels. We talk about channels would be how does the product get from wherever it's produced all the way down to wherever it gets sold. And so again, I could do this through brick and mortar. I could do it through a physical store. I could do it through an e-tailer, which is all online. It just is mailed out and delivered at your in front of your building, or it could be some kind of combination of the two. Financial considerations, and these are covered in a chapter on its own. All the decisions related to the financial operations of a retailer, and we have to have some sort of system in place to be able to manage these financial considerations. Very important. Merchandising, merchandise buying, and logistics. So merchandise buying would be, I got to decide where, what, and how much of something to buy. I mean, think about it. Where's it going to be produced? How much of it do I get? I guess to be based on how much I think I can sell. And how do I get this to make sense, not just be a guess? And then logistics is moving things, getting products and services from the manufacturer to the final customer. How do I get that from where it is to where it needs to be? Human resource has to do with the right mix, finding the right mix of skilled people to operate the business. Tactics have to do with the execution of the strategy, the plan, and they're usually more short term. And that's things like pricing, integrated marketing communication, which has to do with how everything looks from the outside. We've got it all integrated and we're able to get our message across, and customer service would be examples of that. I'm going to talk sometimes in this class about e-tailing and e-commerce. So e-tailing is retailing that's done on the internet, the web, etc. It's usually replace or supplement physical retail locations, but there's a slightly different term that's also used in this class, and that's e-commerce. And this has the context of selling, buying, logistics, or other organization management activities via the web. It's not just the retail; it's more of the activities